Yes, my family, blessed love, wonderful. We definitely give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Of course, you are in the tiger's nest, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Of course, as always, it is a joy when we could sit in and sup and carry this thing to another level. This evening, it's not going to be any different. We definitely have a wonderful visitor with us. We have the man Icern, Icern. He will be sitting in with us. And of course, we have done several programs with Brother Icern. In fact, he was with us on that first official live chalice talk that we did during the summer solstice experience just less than a month ago. But for sure, this evening, we will be talking about Rastafari, an African liberation movement, or is it a religious order? And for sure, Brother Ras Icern will be coming in and giving us a strength on that. But before we go that far, I just want to highlight to everyone, we have an upcoming online international lecture, which we will be airing right here on the YouTube and on the Facebook as well. This is very important. This is the first of 3 massive lectures that we will be doing entitled, listen to this, The Living Gods of Kemet. The Living Gods of Kemet. 3 parts. You're going to have part 1, which is this one, Tutankhamun and Akhenaten. Trust me, just wait until you see, man. We're talking about next Saturday. Well, Saturday, I should say, the 24th of July, not necessarily next Saturday, at least at the recording of this, but Saturday, the 24th of July, 2021. Those of you on YouTube, you could check it right here on YouTube. We will be airing it at 7 p.m. sharp Eastern Caribbean time. So just get yourself in order. It's going to be one of those online lectures, and we will be highlighting Tutankhamun and Akhenaten. And the name of the series of lectures, again, The Living Gods of Kemet. All right, this is part 1. Part 2, we will be dealing with Samenkhare. You don't want to miss that. That will be the Saturday after that. And then on the 3rd Saturday, we will be dealing with Ramesses, as they call him. But this one is entitled Ramesu II. 3 massive lectures talking about online lectures. These are scholarly university type presentations because that's what we're dealing with. And we're going to bring the information on that level. You definitely want to be a part of that. So again, what you need to do, if you're not a subscriber, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, the Priest Isaac YouTube channel, number 1. And if you have already subscribed, make sure your notification button is on. That is very important, so you don't forget. And we're going to update you with a reminder so you don't forget. All right, wonderful. So as I said, The Living Gods of Kemet, 3 parts. As I said, the first part, Tutankhamun and Akhenaten. The second part, we will be dealing with Samenkhare. Now, the first 2 are free. The third one, which will also be an online lecture as well, that will be only $20 for you to get into that lecture. As you know for sure, almost every month we do an online lecture or series of lectures, but we decided that these online lectures, we're going to bring them to the front line for everyone to see. But the third one, I'm sure by the time you pass through part 1 and part 2, you will definitely have enough appreciation to definitely contribute for the third one, and that third one is going to be heavy, Ramesu II. Also, let me just highlight that if you are not a member of the Shock of the Hour subscription team, and remember, once you are a member of the Shock of the Hour subscription team, once we have an online lecture, especially if you have to pay an admission fee, for sure, you definitely will be there for free. Just contact us, email priestisaac27@gmail.com, and we will give you more information on how you could become a monthly subscriber, a 6-month subscriber, or even a yearly subscriber to, as I said, the Shock of the Hour international radio program that comes to you every night. I mean, after I'm done with this interview here with Ras Icern, I gotta go straight to the studio and get going with the Shock of the Hour. So speaking about Brother Icern, I'm going to definitely see if he's in the house as yet. And before I go there, just reminding you that you can definitely get all of our ebooks, all available on Amazon. Anu, Ancient and Modern, the True Biblical Land of Israel and the Heavens that Declare the Glory. or you could get them from myself personally, and you know what to do. Just email me, priestisaac27@gmail.com. All right. As I said, you are here with us. This is the Tiger's Nest, and as I said, the brother Icern will be joining us in a moment. In fact, I think he's already here with us. So let me just go and bring him in. Definitely give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. And Haile Selassie the first. All right, blessed love once again. Give thanks for staying with us. As I said, he's right here with us as promised. Brother Ras Icern, definitely stepping into the Tiger's Nest this evening. We are definitely looking forward to having an upful reasoning and upful discussion. As I said earlier, Brother Ras Icern within Rastafari in Antigua, definitely amongst those of us who are considered the youth of Rastafari, coming after the original elders, you know, Ras Icern specifically, one of the progressive youths, also a former member of Area. That's it. That's the right.
Uriah, actually.
Uriah, my lord. Yes, Uriah, which was a very pivotal group in Antigua, as simple as it was as a youth group. One of these times, we'd have to speak about that too, the importance of that youth group as it relates to the history of Antigua and Barbuda with Rastafari. That definitely does kind of go unseen, but the time and place for that. And the brethren has been on our program several times. He have been on several programs with me outside of what we do here on YouTube and Facebook. So for sure, I know I don't have to ask that the brethren is coming with a wealth of knowledge and information, and definitely provocative conversation, I am sure, will be taking place here this evening. So as I said, the subject that even I chose, as I put to the people already, Rastafari, an African liberation movement or a spiritual movement. And even before you begin and expound and go into it in depth, let me just say that from time to time I hear Muta Baruka use the phrase where he says Africa or Rastafari is an African liberation movement, something of the sort, with a spiritual nucleus. That's his phrase. Here yes, that. So true. Within how you phrased it as far as the topic, I'm saying now, couldn't it be both an African liberation movement and a spiritual movement? Or and then again, where do you draw the line between spirituality and religion? And then again, even in the discussion, we have to also speak of, because many ones are even saying now that, well, it's more than African liberation, it's humanity liberation. So all of that I expect to even come out even in this discussion here this evening. But let me say again, give thanks for being with us. Blessed love, honorable. And to the audience once again, Brother Ras Icern. Yes, my Lord. Greetings.
Yes, well, just giving thanks still for the invitation to be in the Tiger's Nest once again. I might at this point would just like to give homage and acknowledgement to the symbol of divine authority, Pata Neta Anra Haile Selassie, His Majesty. And greetings to all the ones, all the viewers out there, you know what I mean, differently. As we say, you know, this demand, ironically, you reference Muta reasoning. And part of the reason for me choosing this topic is listening to some reasoning with Muta concerning controversially the whole idea of white people being Rasta.
Oh, okay.
For one. And I man listen when you and Judge Joseph had an interview also. And you know, you during the reasoning the man in touch and that said point as well. You understand? It's, you know, it's a ticklish kind of issue, you know what I mean? But I had some thought on it. And so I specifically choose this particular question as a topic that I can, also vent some of my thoughts on it as well. You understand? So that's the whole crux of it really behind, is Rastafari an African liberation movement or a spiritual movement? And if you notice, I didn't say African spiritual movement. I leave it open and general. You understand?
Yes, yes.
I'm on thought, and it is that Rastafari is actually both.
Fair enough.
You understand? Rasta is both, but there is a kind of conflict, particularly when we're going to relate to the involvement of other races into the movement as we have across the globe. Yeah, Japanese, Chinese, all kind of different race of people, in addition to African people who are Rastafari still. And it is somewhat of a sensitive issue in terms of exactly what the involvement of other races should be within Rastafari, or whether they should even be a part of Rastafari, you understand? Taken from, you have a question?
No, I listening. I write it down some questions.
Yes, I.
Clear.
So,
great, nice.
Taken from Muta reasoning, for example, Muta will ask question like, all right, like, will they be repatriating, referring to other races, and where will they be repatriating to? Will they be advocating for reparation, which is part of the driving force and the focus of Rastafari from inception? Repatriation is a must, you understand, and reparation for all the wrongs that have been done to I and I, the African people. So essentially Rastafari is an African liberation movement. It was founded out of that particular movement, the African liberation movement. Seeing Rastafari came right out of Marcus Garvey movement, which is a straight up liberation movement. It is the spiritual nucleus that was added to that liberation movement, all encompass was the whole idea of Rastafari and the divine figure of Haile Selassie. So that is what brings this spiritual nucleus into the liberation movement. When I say liberation movement, I speak beyond Rastafari, but to include Marcus Garvey, Black movement in America, all this put together. You understand? So, as I say, there's a kind of conflict between the two positions, as I man see it still. In that, if Rasta is about African liberation, then it would suggest that anyone who is coming into the Rastafari liberty, they will have to be sharing those objectives, as is the original foundation of the movement. You understand? Where it becomes conflicted is when we bring the spiritual nucleus into it. Because by I and I reasoning, by I and I claiming Rastafari, His Majesty is the creator of sun, moon, and stars. He's the creator of all races, of all things. You understand? And once I and I would have made a claim to that extent, where His Majesty is concerned, then it becomes a ticklish issue right there in terms of prohibiting any other race of people from becoming Rasta. Because other races of people might just simply be coming into Rasta because they're acknowledging the creator. Just simply that.
I hear you.
So they will not be coming from a liberation background per se. You understand? But let's say, for example, they come up in a European culture and they know Christianity. And then they see Rastafari come, and Rastafari now showing all the scriptural fulfillment in connection with Haile Selassie. And they're now persuaded by this, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, root and offspring of King David, all these things. And they come up in a Christian tradition, yes, but when they confront Rastafari reasoning now, and Rasta showing all these prophecies as His Majesty fulfilled, you understand? They're now acknowledging the fact that, yo, this man is the Christ, Jed. This man is the Christ. And so they're now stepping forward to acknowledge their maker and creator in this person. You see where you come from?
Totally.
Yeah. So when they step forward in that capacity, not necessarily inspired by fighting a liberation struggle.
Right.
What would our position as the Africans now, who started out from that foundation of a liberation struggle? And in that process, I and I create the spiritual element in Rastafari to add to that liberation movement.
If I could I could just come in here to the discussion.
Yes, sir.
It's not even necessarily a question, but to maybe to add to what you're saying to kind of bring it to a level. So what I was looking at, okay, outside of the races, me personally, no, I in the sense that you know what I mean, we may be a few years different, but you see me come as Rasta. You definitely see me transform into Rastafari. Now, before that, I was actually searching, not necessarily for no African anything. I was just searching for God. That's my story. Like I wanted to know who God is. So I was reading different books, checking out different people, listening to this man here, what them man up there, Elijah Muhammad, them saying, checking out with this other Ben Ami and so on, all right. Remember when Brother Lenny was around and so.
Yes, I.
Brother Ami, in all due respect.
Sure.
Meet up by Roots man, Gary, Jaid, or by his store that he had up there. Enough reasoning that's going on there.
Yeah,
even man, there, I gain a lot of knowledge and information there. I just passed through and so. So, but what I'm saying now, when I accepted the King of Kings, Haile Selassie, because of the nature of Haile Selassie and what he's all about, I mean, I took up everything else that surround him to the point that now, yes, as a black man, it resounds with me more than maybe somebody else from another race as far as the liberation struggle. But I can say for sure, in my experience, more so as Bobo Shanti, those within the Bobo Shanti are members of the EABIC that are of Caucasian race as such. From what I see of them, now I can't tell you a person's heart, but what I see of them is that not only the black God they defend, because I listening to them, because they have to profess it, but they profess that they're stamping down white supremacy. I don't hear them bringing up King George or nothing white. It's just black people thing they're talking about. And according to what they say, they and the black man struggle. Now that's what is being said. Me personally, I don't see too much of that because I'm a John Brown kind of person. John Brown historically is a white man that go all the way out for the liberation of black people. Well, at least that's how his history is written. I've never met, from my perspective, a white Rastafari that I get the impression that they're going all the way out for our liberation. So maybe, according to what you're saying, maybe it's not fully in their heart. They say so. I hear them, Yeah, man, up with the black man God and down with the white man God. And they talk it all day long. And Africa for the Africans. They themselves say that too, Africa for the Africans. Okay. But we have a liberation struggle, as you're saying, that we're still fighting. And you hardly see certain black man on the front line. But I wouldn't put my neck on the block and say, white man or that white man or this white woman that I consider. I'm not saying that they're not genuine in the heart or whatever, but I don't see John Brown. Let me put it that way. I do not see John Brown. Okay. maybe John Brown can make himself known or herself known, Jane Brown. I'll be happy to see that. But I don't see, I hardly see a John Brown in a black man, to be honest. But go through. So it wasn't really a question. I was just adding to this the sphere of what you're saying, just to create a little light energy on it different.
Yes, I for sure. But well, that's precisely the point that I'm even elucidate upon even more. You understand? The idea that their validity as Rasta would have to be based on whether they are for the black struggle, given the fact that their motive for coming into Rasta may not have anything to do with anything liberation, but simply to acknowledge somebody that they see that come and fulfill these prophecies of the Bible, that they come to acknowledge the truth of and reality of this. So for example, they might more support Rastafari more on the basis of the principle of equal rights and justice, and to fight against oppression in all its shades and forms, more so than specific black struggle. For example, I'm a brethren, a white brethren. He had one single axe right at the back of his head from Germany. You understand? And when he used to come to Antigua for vacation all the time, very friendly with the Straker family, Coyote family, and so forth. And I had some reason with the brethren. I mean, when the brethren come on there, I don't even remember the name right.
I remember him, man. I think like long time ago, like maybe a good 15, 20 years ago. I think I remember the brethren, man.
Yeah, but I had some reason with this brethren. And basically, it is the spirit of Rastafari to stand up and fight against oppression.
Yeah, man, I remember.
And the chant of one love. You understand? An international and universal brotherhood and these sentiments is what this brethren embrace. And basically, he was telling Ayman about history inside of Germany, where they have a certain group of people, I don't remember them by name either, that were always fighting a struggle against a different faction in Germany. You understand? For justice and rights and to resist oppression and these things right in Germany. So all of the things that he drew from Rastafari, you understand, was the principal activism against oppression and for stand up for righteousness and these things. And he direct that energy within Germany against this hierarchy who usually don't press these otherwise noble people traditionally in Germany used to stand up for uprightness and these things. You see how you come from?
Yeah, of course.
Never hear. I mean, if he was to speak about what the black nation suffer, what African people suffer during slavery and everything as a matter of principle, he will be supportive of the cause. But his life activity wasn't necessarily in that vein, but just on a principle level of fighting against evil. You understand? And the principle and the principalities of oppression and these things.
And you're saying,
you understand, right?
Yeah, well, you're saying that that criteria is not good enough to be Rastafari.
No, I'm not saying the criteria is not good enough. No. I actually say it differently, that in terms of judging whether these quote unquote white Rastas are genuine Rasta people or not, we perhaps cannot do that by how black they are in their activism, because they're just not coming from that historical place as we the African people. They did not go through this sufferation. They did not feel this vibe. This is the reason why even man like Muta and many others, you understand, there's a brethren down in the Lucia now, they bonfire upon the whole idea of white Rasta, same way. Because in a sense, they really cannot identify with us in that, except on a principle basis. Just a matter of what is right and just. You understand? So their their Rasta will be more representative of fighting against the principal force of evil and oppression. You understand? And for righteousness, more so than a specific focus on the African people struggle, and to now trying to prove how black they are in terms of how they speak to that struggle, or how they advocate alongside the black man for that struggle. You understand where I come from?
Yeah, naturally, so, in them to do that, to be that.
That to me, that this is just my opinion still. That would not be a fair basis to judge whether they are really Rasta or not. And I can go a little bit further. And this is the reason why I set the two topics apart, whether Rasta is an African liberation movement or a spiritual movement. Because any person of any race can identify with spiritual, because spirituality is a universal thing. You understand? It encompasses all race and shades and color and all these kind of things. You understand? So anybody can join into that struggle. But the African, and mark you, quote unquote, African liberation struggle, they may not be able to join into that with the kind of fervor that the African people who feels it and knows it will be Rasta in their expression.
But then, yeah, because what you're doing there, you, I commend you on how you, the reasoning that you're bringing out here. Yeah, if once a person not listening it with any, old feelings or preconceived feelings and so, they could see the value in how you're bringing it out too, where you could actually divide the two sides and show the African liberation on this side and the spirituality on that side. And what brought to mind now, because we also we gone into genetics now, because I never in Africa finally no country free no country, but because I'm genetically linked there, I could feel it. Now, why I say go into genetics, because on the religious aspect and even on the scientific aspect, there are different outlooks when it comes to mixing, which is the next border that one got to look into. If one is so strict about black and white and other people, the combination of two, whether you agree with it or not, for sure I don't agree with that kind of mixing, but people are produced by that. You know what I mean? Some of us can go back and maybe a grandfather or grandmother or two was produced by that too. The point I'm making is that in some religious circles, they will tell you that depending on what the father is, and that's biblical too, depending on what the father is, that's what the child is. So it's a black father and white mother, black child. No matter how you look, black child. Science seems to have a different outlook at that. Science seems to give a little more weight to the woman part of the vibration as far as identification. And then they have a next level of science, which they ain't got nothing to do with father or mother, but the percentage of black blood. Sometimes I think you are down to 5%. And we know that. We know amongst black people, we have black people that they're black in the sense of the term, like the color, skin, and crayon black. But their skin is as pale, almost bordering the skin complexion of our white man as such, as far as the terminology we use, and just terminology. Because some people can tell, oh, we're not really black or white. We know that, we know. We're just talking, right? So I'm saying that to say now, even the brethren, Trey mentioned him, and he brought it up in the discussion, so I don't think you'd feel no way. Brother Judge Joseph, he's the one to bring it up, so I hope I'm not in one thing, enough respect to a man and his family, but he bring it up, and he was showing that, well, his empress was mixed as well, black and white. He's a member of the UNIA, and I know the UNIA even more than Rasta. Very strong against black people marrying white people. They're strong against that, even more than Rasta, no matter. So I'd assume that from his perspective, although I mean, she obviously, whatever is her mother's or father's side of the family, there is that Caucasian whole family, half of her is that, or anybody else. So where you draw that line now, you know, and a person that is so-called mixed, what they used to call mulatto in them back days, wouldn't they also have some level of feeling towards the liberation of Africa? Because nobody can tell Bob Marley now, Black Marley now. I never hear Bob Marley talk as if, well, I half white. If you didn't know, you wouldn't even know. You know, Bob Marley talk as if he's Africa all the way and singing.
Yeah, well, this is the point where I make same way, right, by saying that instead of the attitude or the perspective that one in that position will have to come from is to take a stance against the principal evil, not regarding what color.
Okay, I get you now.
The action come from, the action of evil and so on come from, but a principle stand against injustice, against oppression, against enslavement of any person and so on and so forth. And that is something that black, white, anybody can take a stand with. Because in every nation, you have good and evil. You have some people within the tradition of Europe, for example. You have these people called the Celtic people. That always were a rebellious set of people against the power structure in Europe, the monarchies and so on that we seek to make subjects out of all the rest people and so forth. You understand? The Celtic were a rebellious people against the oppression of these elites, so to speak. You understand? So here you have it right within that context with white and white people. You have that same principle, evil, good against evil, right within that context. You understand what I say? And that is a manifestation, I'm sure, within every single nation on the planet. Because these two principle bases exist naturally in all human beings. You can be principally for good, or you can be principally for evil. It all depends on you as the individual. You understand? If we were to go to the speech for His Majesty that Bob Marley made into a song, all these things are highlighted right there. You see, it's the principal evil. You understand?
I follow that for sure.
A mulatto person, for example, we just simply take a stance against the principal evil. If injustice has been done to the black race, the mulatto person facing truth, acknowledging truth and reality, would have simply chant down whoever commit the evil act within that context. And within that context, it's a European. So you would expect, as a matter of principle, whether they're mulatto or they're all white, that they would acknowledge that evil, that they would acknowledge that act of oppression against the innocent people.
If they had good like that.
Exactly. Well, precisely.
Well, obviously, definitely.
Precisely. So that will have to be the firm basis on which to really judge their participation along that principal line, more so than whether they actually take up a specific cause that is African and black. Because they just cannot do that thing like I and I, the African. They just cannot do it. Okay. They don't go out there up to now and face stigma and all these things because they have this skin color. They don't have that issue. They don't have that reality. They might get scanned because they had dreadlocks or something like that. But in terms of race, they would not have those kind of issues. You might find that, for that matter, most white Rasta, except for maybe if they face hostility in a black society, will just go through the world smooth without any kind of scan or any issue. Whereas the black Rasta now will go through those kind of things. You have to be careful of neighborhood you end up in the South, in America, wherever, and so forth. You understand? Whereas the white Rasta may not have that issue, at least not on the basis of his skin color. You understand? Mm-hmm. So they're really not going to be able to, if we use that as the yardstick, they will never, ever make the grade.
So then, as Rastafari, as a band, that means Because there's so many things in my mind now to bring to you. Here, a couple of things well in my mind. In fact, let me not ask you. Let me just say a few things here. What I'm gathering here, and I would agree with if this is what it is. Rastafari as a unit, Rastafari is a family, and there's certain religious aspects about Rastafari. You know, there's enough things they say. Like it's 10 things I want to say at one time.
A lot of what I reason now, trust me, this will go through the mind of many people across the globe.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. Let me, Rastafari is a unit. Now, so what you're bringing to the forefront too is that we have to take a look at everyone in their nature. We can't force the lion to be a leopard or the elephant to be a rhino, even though you serve the rhino god, he still hand trunk. You know what I mean? You don't have no hand like the people that come directly from the rhino. Okay.
Sure.
All right. But the elephant, the fact that the elephant understand that, well, it's not the elephant god doing it, it's not the rhino god. The elephant by right supposed to have a heart that you're supposed to can see some sort of action to help with the rhino cause, some sort of action, to advance. Because you see, remember the rhino cause, or the black man cause, is what will benefit the rest of the world. You know, we are the ones
well,
that... Go ahead.
I would completely agree with that. But I might just put it in the term of the principle. But that's exactly what I say. Now, I would expect if you have a white Rasta here, and he witnessing, let's say we're in America then, where you understand, a white country, and this white Rasta now recognize certain injustice happening against black people. As a matter of principle and right, I would expect to hear that white Rasta speak out against that injustice right there.
Yeah, definitely.
And the basis of this principle.
And put them money where their mouth is too. That's very important.
Yeah. And if you have to go on front line and hear some things and arrow in defense of this principle right, that he would have done so too. And it will also, to be fair, we will have to say that if the black man goes somewhere and it's a white situation where there's a principle, good and evil situation there, that he would also lend voice to that and say that's injustice.
Yes, keep talking.
And chant it down the same way. You understand? So once it's a matter of the principle stand, as I say, the principle stand against evil, then everything will flow smoothly. You understand?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yes, because I might lose you for a bit there.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you fully.
See it. Okay, well, they're on the screen anyway. But yes, so as I say, it is that principle basis to me would be the fairest ground on which to qualify any other race of people, whether they're European, Japanese, or whatever. In terms of qualifying them to be Rasta or not, it will have to be based to me. And that principle stands against oppression of all kinds, all colors, whatever. It is the fairest position in order to say, judge their position, more so than whether they come and try to prove to I and I, the African Rasta, how black they are. You understand? By totally devote. I mean, not saying they cannot, right? Because, for example, Ras Icern Tafari from Barbados, as I learned, he was one of the forerunners as Rasta within Barbados, one of the foundation, one of the person that helped to establish Rastafari within Barbados. This brother white, the brother wife is an African woman as well. You understand? And the man write and do a lot of works in favor of the cause of Africa. So yes, one can choose that just as how he chooses that. You understand what I'm saying? But to use that particular trust as a qualifier or a disqualifier of the person as being Rasta would not be fair, in my opinion. Once they stand for the broader cause of good over evil. And once they stand for that, then the was shared. This evil come in. They will have to be chanting that down as a matter of principle. You understand? So if white people down in the South Africa are going where them are going with me, expect that the white Rasta say that is injustice and chant that down. You understand? In the same way that in his country, if you have faction of white people and you have certain of them fight down the other one, the same way that he who can identify with that racially would put fervor into that fight and stand up and speak out for it. You understand? I would expect the same thing across the board. His Majesty once saying in his speech, and I'm on a paraphrase, that he fight against evil and injustice any way that he show up. Any way that he show up within the creation, he chant it down. And he chant it down as a matter of principle. That's a stance that any human being can take. And I think once the fight is against that principal evil, then the cause is well represented. You understand? The cause is well fought once it is against that principle, because we have to focus well and understand that the evil and the oppression that go down against the African people, you understand, is but a shade of it. It is not the whole rainbow, because injustices and oppression also takes place across the races. You understand? So even higher than the black-white situation is the principle itself.
For sure, for sure.
You see? Yeah. So yeah, as I man listen these reasoning, and I man not the ones in the mark, because as I man say, it's a sensitive issue. You gotta have a factor. There's a trust factor in all of this in terms of how some of I and I as African really regard these people of other races that come into Rasta. There's a trust factor with an I and I part, because I and I cannot trust that they don't come as infiltrators, as underminers, given the history and the things that I and I race go through. You understand? So I man no one like I man and not the individuals and them that have this high skepticism and even outright opposition against this idea of this white Rasta. I man want to be, yeah, I understand it. I man view it as a trust factor, however, because there's nothing there to say that they cannot stand for the principle right because they are white.
You have many different things that lead up to this, you have different things that sway people for sure, especially if you're going to come from certain aspects of the Bible. One would pull a scripture and then identify the white race with, let's say, Edom or Esau, and then pull a scripture and show you where Esau can enter into the kingdom or something of the sort. And I mean, that's just a persuasion. You know you're going to come from someone or the other. You may have another persuasion which goes more down that same trust factor area, where one would say, listen, man, this is a African thing. We don't know what happened every time they come in. We have a whole history of this. I mean, we gonna make the same mistake like the chicken that walked back in the fire, man. And we have that as history, We can hardly pull any incident where they came in and everything was okay after they're done. Hardly. I don't know if you can pull up a situation where that happened. And then you have some deep scientific outlook on this, Trust me, there are ones that will clearly tell you, well, the black man is the original man. In fact, the black man is what a man is. Everything else, somehow it come about, it mutate out after a couple thousand years, some ice age, and it come about. So one see it, and even that aspect, because remember, we reason with all kind of people. So you have different levels of looking at what we're talking about when it comes to the races. Then now,
Yes,
you said
Sean.
something earlier about the good and the evil. A little, not etymology, but let's say a little semantics can come in here now. Because the Bible shows that God created good and evil. You know, he created good and evil. He himself said that, you know what I mean, he repented of the evil that he was going to do somebody, right there. So evil now, although if you add a D, you get devil, you know, but evil, almost like the word negative, it may not necessarily be how it's seen. Because negative, nothing wrong with negative, you know, you need both negative and positive, but somehow the word negative has become, well, negative, wrong, not right. You know, but negative and positive must go together, or else it's not going to work. The good and evil, in a sense, come down like the negative, positive, you know, and the negative
It
for
is.
sure.
Symbolically, it is.
Right, you know, in that symbolism. Right, and it's within us too. It is within us. But amongst the races now, if you were to do an assessment or a study, it appears that the negative, just to use the term, or the evil then has created a wicked society. Because although you may have that tug of war among some other people, you know, I would say even amongst the Africans have the tug of war, but I don't get nowhere where we created this wicked society. Because trust me, European history, right? You see the Dark Ages and the Inquisition and so. Some historians will tell you that white people have dealt more harsher with their own people than that they've dealt with even black people during slavery. I mean, the manders have this long thing like a harpoon, and they just tie you up naked and just rest you on that, make you sit on that and make that thing go all up your anus and out your mouth and all kind of things. That's what they used to do in the Dark Ages.
Some instrument of torture during the Inquisition. Listen,
things they never bring down to the plantation.
They are getting the horrific terms.
Right. So if you were to judge the nations, just like even in the Bible, you know, all them little nations, the Hittites and the Perizzites, and all of them have their own characteristic. Yes, amongst everybody there's fighting. Animals fight. I mean, when a lion come in and he see the lioness with cubs and he beat up the old lion, he can kill them cubs. What you gonna say? He may not be wicked, he just moving by instinct. But if this is the instinct of the European, to me that's a step above negative and evil. That gone into a wicked sort of expression, as if that nation represents the embodiment of wicked. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, metaphysically speaking,
there you go.
Yeah, metaphysically speaking, because of the events itself, because every event can be metaphysically interpreted.
Okay, I can work with that.
Okay, and the event of what goes on between the African and the European, it is very clear, metaphysically speaking, that they are the embodiment of evil. It's very clear, I man said that without any kind of apology.
Right.
You understand? So symbolically speaking on the world stage, because listen, contrary to Europe rising up in the past 500 years, you understand? I don't think you ever have a situation where one race rise up against another race to the extent that Europe has done with the African people. I think that is unprecedented.
For sure.
You understand? And when you read out that metaphysically, it is very clear. And this is part of the reason why you have this high sensitivity and skepticism among I and I, the African people, towards that color. This is the reason for it. Because it's a whole race of them. You understand? The authority, the leading figure among their races that rose up and did that to the African people. We basically put everybody over there in the same boat, as if, well, everybody in Europe support what the leadership did. You understand? And as a matter of fact, the leaders themselves actually psychologically groom their population to take on this attitude of superiority in terms of how they structure the society thereafter, after all these moves of oppression, when their society were being structured from the ground up, they clearly draw this line where the African people weren't considered to be human, they were subhuman, and their kind were considered to be human and get humane treatment, while we get inhumane treatment. That set up a certain psychological situation in the mind of even their people who may not necessarily would have voted for their leaders to go down in Africa and do the terrible things they do.
That's true.
You understand?
I get that.
If you judge even from the situation between Italy,
yeah, man,
between Italy
yeah.
and Ethiopia,
because you see how Mussolini, how you see how they rally around Mussolini. No, Mystic always said at the same time, because when you're speaking that, maybe because that's what I know as something that I could visualize. You know, you read out the history about certain things, like Mussolini was in the time of video camera, and so it kind of crystallized it. And when you watch these documentaries, you see how all the people rally around him, and all the wives, you know, the wives brought their wedding rings and throw it in the smelter to make gold or whatever, so they could finance the war. So you see that level of dedication, you know. That is why, you know, that is why sometimes you have to see, like even Americans, so, you know, I want have to understand, I'm not telling, well, let me not put it that way, but I want have to understand even what they are associated with. Now, we don't really live we don't live in a world where we have a government that we can say is our government as such. Even in Africa is problems. But for sure, you see like a place like America, right? That do what America do. I mean, although I know 9/11 was a hoax, right? But trust me, man, at any time, yeah, go ahead, speak. Go ahead, do what you're doing. I keep speaking. At any time, people that really against this place could just attack it and really come down on it a kind of way. But you in the midst of it, maybe you partake of it, you help pay the taxes of it. I mean, you have to know where you are in the world. Just like we're here in the Caribbean. We're here in Antigua, me and you both in the same place. You know what I mean? Not big guy is not America, me is not America. And the mentality is no far different. You understand? So that is why sometimes you have to stand up against things and even make your voice be heard. So that sometimes even when the enemy comes, the enemy would say, hey, no, he all right now, because he definitely against them. It's a mystic kind of situation, you know. So I'm just saying that the environment that you are around, we have to keep that in mind too, you know, where you are in the world, because the world is a dread world. And certain people have a lot of enemies, walk and break out any place. And you being a part of a society, in a sense, is supporting the society. Not that you don't have to live someplace, you know, but how much do you put into this society? That's why certain dread people don't pay tax, because they see that they're contributing to the society. A man will tell you you're not voting, because the man, whoever you vote for, going to say out of their mouth, at least around here, that they swear allegiance to Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and her successors, if she's still alive after the next election. That's what they're going to say. All the radical, all of them talking. I hear them, you know. I listen to them and say, hear this and hear that. If he win his seat, will he say that I pay allegiance to Queen Elizabeth, her heirs and her successors? I mean, to me, the whole game last day, because you're supposed to take a man at his word. And we overlook these things. People will tell, oh, don't worry about that, man. We can fix the road. No, don't worry about that. We just said that. We can do this. But that's an oath. They say it about 3 times, 2 times in the parliament and once in government house. You know, so allegiance is a very serious thing, you know, and even coming to the discussion of black and white and different races and whatever. Allegiance, this is a black liberation thing for real. Eh? It is a black man movement, black woman movement. And the spiritual nucleus the nucleus means this, it's at the center of it. So for anyone to get to that center of it, they have to pass through the liberation stuff too, man. You know, just to get to the center. So I get your point fully, you know, but I know for sure the other races have their part to play with our liberation. That must be clear.
I would definitely agree. As a matter of fact,
there's one last thing. And we too, you know, we really need to structure the thing, because even as Bobo Shandy, I said this in one of the reasons, I think it was the same brother Judge Joseph, that, for example, we have a guard at the entrance of the tabernacle there, just to make it simplified, that would hold the banner. And I was saying that that should be a space reserved for an African, just basically. Obviously, there were ones that didn't like the statement, but it's for the same reason, like what you're saying here tonight, that, you know, there's certain positions that we have to ratify. You can't just come into this African liberation movement and just take up any seat. I totally disagree with that. And to me, that's a very key seat, the person that is my security. You know what I mean? That's like giving, you know what I mean, making a Colombian guard, you know what I mean, the Prime Minister of Haiti. But what do you say?
Yeah, well, again, that to me, you know, it's a ticklish issue, and Mark, I man totally will overstand the sensitivity surrounding that. You understand? One might argue even, well, okay, if you come and you see a white person there and you're having question in your mind whether they are coming in as infiltrators or not, well, the thing about that is that they're not hidden by their appearance. You know exactly, it's enough, keep an eye on this one. But let's say, for example, you have somebody who black, that is a sellout. You will have the uniformity of having everything look black. But then you might just have one of these people here that black, that is not true. And at the same time, this person who do not have the appearance of one that you would expect genuinity from might actually be the one that, well, they know that they are going to be targeted by their appearance, so they try to be as upright as possible and try to hold it down tight. You understand? So, you know, as I man say, I man fling no stone in no direction, because I man straight up overstand the sensitivity and the skepticism and the whole question of trust that I and I will have in respect of things like that. You understand? So I man really don't, you know what I mean? I man no thing, no stone, I man just reason to a balance. Let's just put it that way. But I wanted to read something from His Majesty.
Got you. I was gonna ask
from His Majesty as it relates to other race of people and their involvement in the struggle. And His Majesty say, if in truth the basic struggle in the world today is for the minds of men, then that nation or group of nations which seek to impose its will upon our African people will most assuredly vanquish in this struggle. Africa needs and desire and welcome the help of others, both physical and moral. But Africa must nevertheless be left to develop herself, her people, her resources, as African determined. Leave us to freely, without qualm, the choice between good and evil, between injustice and justice, between oppression and liberty. Our choice will be the right one, and history will judge us, and you, the better for it.
That's the part, right?
The part that I man want to take away from that is His Majesty welcome other ones to come and lend a helping hand and bring a helpful voice into the whole forum of discussion about justice and injustice and oppression and freedom and liberty. But he is reserving the position of choice and determination for the African people. And that speaks a little to what the man allude to by saying even if they come in to join the struggle, the position that they occupy within the struggle must be one that is caution, so to speak, in the sense of you have to leave certain things for the African people to decide how certain things go. You understand? So I would imagine that if you have ones of other races, and I might even just leave it center, and European, but Japanese, whoever that might come in, that they will understand and respect this principle, that this really is essentially the African people's struggle. And so certain things about the other, you know, coming with high ambition, I want to run the organization, for example. You take a humble position and try and help in the best way that you can, the cause. You understand? Once you're lending support to it, we welcome the support, His Majesty saying that. But the determination of things, you understand, must be left to the African people ultimately. You understand? So to me, that there's like a principle, a working principle that I and I can use in terms of how I and I entertain or incorporate people of other races within the struggle.
So what about when it comes to addressing like the white world of government then? So like we deal with reparation and these things and compensation and repatriation and you know, these things. You have the British government, the French government, whatever government, the UN and these different things. I believe that specifically the white world should take up. Well, you see, that's it, you know. You see, what you say again is correct. I shouldn't be saying that here, the white world should take up that. King Emmanuel made a Caucasian, I can't remember his name right now. I think he made him an ambassador. And from the history, this is the only time this was done. So a lot of ones would refer to that as a reference, especially if they're giddy to get other people to join of different races. Sure. They're quick to go for that reference. But when I studied good, and someone really brought it to my attention, he wasn't just made something, you know. He was sent on a mission. I think he's from Greece, but he would have done a few diplomatic missions for the Congress as a white man. And he got through in certain offices that it was giving the black man problem to get in. King Emmanuel gave him the documents and tell him where to go. I don't know exactly how the funding went, but I mean, he would fly on plane and go to different governmental offices. I think he went as far as the UN. I could be wrong with that one, but I know for sure he got a few things done officially. All of that is in the black supremacy. There's even a video in 1988 where he, the same white ambassador, if that was the title he got, I think his name is John Joel, something of the sort, and he visited the camp. That was 1988. There's a video on YouTube, and you see everyone who was in white was a flag raising ceremony, and Prince Emmanuel mentioned him right there and said, we give thanks for the work that he has done to go and help to fight for the freedom and redemption. But he went, I guess, again into corridors that we couldn't go, at least at that time. So I'm saying all of that to come back now. If we're going to use them kind of examples then, I think that is the work. That's appropriate. That is completely appropriate. As I say, he's not occupying the position of leading the organization, being some president or vice president or some high position. He's acting as a diplomat, supporting the principle of what is good and right, what is fair and just. You understand? So he's fighting. We have to organize it and give out the orders, because it's an organization we have now. When you join it, you can't just join it and, as you say, cock up your foot. Say, well, we here, we run things here. This is what we want you to do for us.
If you're lending support to the cause, this is the way that we can use your support, because we have to determine that. We have to say, okay, we need some help, and we see that your resourcefulness or whatever, you can lend support to us in this capacity. We have to designate you to take up a certain role, just like what King Emmanuel did. You understand? And that has to be the work in the port. This is what His Majesty chanting.
Yeah,
you understand?
What you read there.
We direct the thing because it's our thing. But we welcome your help. If you have something that you can lend to the struggle, we welcome it, but we'll be the one to direct you into what particular course of action you should take, what capacity you should act in support of our cause.
I find that this reasoning, I didn't expect it to go on that level, you know. I didn't know it was on that level. It's a very thoughtful reasoning that I have there, you know. You show that, you know, in the mind really in the right place, man. It's a thoughtful concern to bring in a reasoning forum, you know. But let me ask you now, so then, what about the hardcore one that you mentioned, that you say you could understand how they feel and you sympathize with them? Them that say, hey, look, man, nobody is supposed to be a part of this. Just I and I. This is black people thing. Nobody supposed to be a part of this. So you may ask them, so what about the spiritual aspect, saving the soul? No. Nobody's supposed to be a part. What about they be a part, but they are in the outer circle? No. They let them go. And we can't be a part of the Ku Klux Klan. They can't be a part of this. Okay. You think that's a toxic way to think?
I wouldn't want to use terms like that.
Okay.
I would just like to say, well, it all depends on where you're basing your argument from. If you're coming from the premise of, okay, as you make reference to the Ku Klux Klan, you know,
but yeah,
that's different. If you're coming from the position of acknowledging a creator, then I really, whether I am African, like your black IB as African, I do not have any providence in that realm. That is a universal realm. I cannot determine who qualify and who disqualify. If the white man acknowledge that this guy is God according to prophecy, let's say he's following the prophecy that we follow, that Haile Selassie is the Almighty, as I chanted, and he come to give homage to the Creator, who is I and I to deny him the space to do so, to deny him entry into the liberty, to deny him authenticity when he come to give homage and acknowledgement to his Creator. We don't own, you see, when you come to that God part, we African do not own the Creator. We really don't own it. So we really do not have that authority, the way I see it, to speak in that realm. But in an I&I organization that we create specifically for our struggle, we can determine who comes and who goes. But when it comes to the spiritual part and the acknowledgement of the Creator and the universal principle of brotherhood across all races, we can't get into that area. Once we speak in that way, we have to check ourselves. And we have to check in with the King reasoning. I can read to you another passage again where His Majesty was welcoming Radha Krishna. He was bestowing a degree on Radha Krishna, and the speech that he made about the remarkable unity of spirit and the brotherhood among the races and so forth. When you hear these reasoning, I and I, Rastafari, if I and I carry forward His Majesty teaching, have to be guided by the principle idea behind these utterances of the King. We have to be guided by that. If we're not acknowledging these things, then to a certain extent, it's like, well, I and I now really we follow the King however we like. Okay, the King said this, we like it, we'll take that. The King said another thing, we don't like it, we not take that. You understand? It'll be a lukewarm kind of following of the King to take such a position. If we are guided strictly by the principles that the King himself expounding and advocating in the earth for universal brotherhood among the races and so forth, then we really have to fall in line. You understand? And there is where the most power lies, when in giving acknowledgement to His Majesty. There's where the power lies. The fact that He speaks with a universal tongue, that's what makes Him God, as we call Him. Because He speaks with a fair tongue to all humanity. Just like they say, the land of K, what color you be, you know? The law of gravity in the business, what color you be, you know? He hold you down to ground. You understand? The immutable laws in the business, what color you be, in a concern itself with that. You understand? The universe not change itself to fit the uniqueness of every individual. It remain one and the same, and every individual have to adjust themselves to that. You understand? So this is the way I want to see it. His Majesty speak with a universal tongue. We have to find the necessary result within I and I self, who will follow the King, to align I and I self firmly behind these principles, but be wise nonetheless in terms of how I and I oscillate among the quote-unquote enemy. You understand? Because as His Majesty himself said in an interview with Aliana Filacci, the Italian journalist, that we can forgive, but we can never forget. You understand? And you see the balance that you have to strike there, because you're forgiving these people and you're trying to forge a friendship going forward, but at the same time, you know what happened. So at the same time, so you did. You know? I forgive, but I keep my eye on you.
Yeah, man. His Majesty really teaches. His Majesty really teaches everything. Eh?
Yeah.
Even that first speech you read that clearly shows you that, yeah, we welcome all, but we have to make the decision going forward. I mean, that's just clear. That's even what we have been saying even throughout the evening. You know.
True.
Very, very, very thoughtful, you know, reasoning. You know that you're supposed to be with I again for the 23rd, eh? I think I can hinted it there for the challenge talk.
For the 22nd, I think you advertise. I don't know if you make an error with the date.
Maybe
but
so,
they
you
have
know,
the
22nd.
Because,
yeah. Because, you know, somehow I thought the King Earth Day was the Saturday, but it's the Friday, the King Earth Day. So, well, once you have time there, I know them days celebrate.
No, I make time, Rasta. Once the match, I make time if I have to take off time from work. Yeah, man, because this is what I have the passion for, to do this.
And when we reason now, it's not going to be me and you alone, you know, but at least two of the brethren coming in. We're going to be talking about Rastafari and the future, you know. And
yes, I love the topic still. I love the topic still.
Different aspects. I mean, what we talk about tonight, that alone. Well, in a sense, we cover that, unless one will bring that in again. And I, you know, I commend you on this topic, you know, and how you bring it forward. Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. Because people duck them topics, and even to talk about it, it always come out. You know what I'm gonna premiere this video, eh? So in the next couple hours, you can check it out live. Whoever watching it, I'm gonna premiere it. So you know, one will be able to comment as it's playing. Tonight, man, so you can catch yourself, and within 2 hours it's up, and you yourself can partake of the commenting. But
it's a subject area. Respect.
It's a subject area. Once it's, you know, the talk of it too, it wouldn't come out this smooth with that understanding, with clarity. You know, it's always like a tug of war somewhere, but it came out real clean that, man, we have to deal with our affairs. It's black man affairs. We actually can't hold it to no one else to come and deal with our affairs. We just can't. You can't deny no one, no animal, no being from their connection with the spirit. Because if they're doing evil, you vex with them. Now they come and do good, you still vex with them. That even make no sense. So you have to have some level where you want to accommodate them. If you think that they're just made to do evil and they can't do good, well, you can't vex with them for being evil then. Best stop complaining about them being evil and just work with it, because that's how they're supposed to be, if that's what you think. You know, that concept is there too, you know, that this is what they can.
Yeah, but,
right. So then
but
if you believe that, you have to just accept.
I was just about to say there's no absolute evidence to support that idea, however, because we do see good coming from people of different races.
Right.
You understand? Listen, the immutable laws manifest in every living human being. The polarity exists in every human being. The man follow Van a lot.
Yeah, man, my brethren, I don't know you're gonna.
Yes, I. You understand? And you hear the reason for it for one thing, man, that highlight these immutable laws and how they apply in life tremendously in the teachings, tremendously throughout the work. These are the things that I have to be mindful of, because it really, when we understand these immutable laws and so on, it cut down a lot of the confusion and the murkiness in our mind about how we balance ourselves out in the midst of these black and white and up and down, you know what I mean, left and right kind of reasoning. When you understand how these immutable laws apply, you can basically just erase certain things easily. And just like what Jimmy Cliff said, you can see clearly now, the rain is gone. You see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's where I teaching have to move a lot, even in terms of how I deal with scripture, brethren. Which that can be a topic for another time.
No, that will come in Rastafari in the future. That we're gonna talk Bible, different sections of us going forward, economics, things like that. But for sure, Bible and religious outlooks and theology, that alone will take up a program. You know, so we really want to make it a regular thing, you know, where we have different ones coming and we sitting together, especially on the Chalice Talk, you know what I mean, and kind of form a core reasoning group, you know what I mean, as you know, the African Rastafari new faculty of overstanding has been doing a good job.
I love the interview, by the way, Jed. I love the interview, the Rasta with the brethren, Doggy.
Okay. Right.
I'm gonna watch it, Jed, the same time you send it out.
To my Lord.
I might get up in the morning, I might listen to the whole thing, Rasta. The whole thing. I mean, some very good history come out.
Yeah, man, definitely, without a doubt.
The brethren reason very balanced. I love the way the brethren reason.
As you can see, I just cherry pick some of them names there. Some of them I don't even know within the history part of it. The elders.
Yeah.
Very, very nice, very nice. My lord, you know, we have to seal it here for this one now. But you don't know.
True.
It's the minded chart, we're gonna do it more and more. Give thanks to the sound reasoning and the strength you brought forward. Even in sealing up, I don't know if anything you want to leave with the people. Let me ask you, so your YouTube channel is up at the moment, isn't it?
It's already set up, but I give thanks, by the way, for the encouragement that the man give Rasta. You see this thing back here?
Yeah, that's it back here.
You see the presentation here?
Yeah, my lord.
Yeah, this will be one of the places that I will just sit down and just do my work and just record. So the project is on. University will be the name of the channel. You understand?
University.
The idea that I have behind of it really is to just bring forward some deeper and more esoteric teaching as opposed to the exoteric. Because more time that I reason more exoterically with the literal interpretations of scripture and all these things. You understand? So what Iman will be doing is bringing out a lot more the information that address the internal side of things. You understand? Because only there is in the internal that a man will become true and authentic. You understand? To just fit in uniformly with the eyes gold and green and the flag and everything outside and the dreadlocks really is not grounds enough. You understand? And I have to come to a point of using these teachings to really come to self-realization When I man come to Rasta, just in closing, just to allude, just to make a further little point. When I man come to Rasta, when I'm here, you got to come to know yourself. That usually refer to knowing yourself as African. Knowing where you come from, knowing your history. So when the whole question of self came up in Ayman early chatting, that was the focus. The self, the more mortal side, the racial self is what we speak to. But then you have that spiritual sense of who you are, because we say that we are spirit having a human experience. So essentially our identity is with spirit, not with the flesh. And so I have to have more focused reasoning that bring out the definition of who we are beyond the flesh. Because it is within that definition that hold all of our positive, all of our divine attributes. Because left the flesh to its five senses, we will not be able to serve the divine. You understand? We cannot serve the divine.
Like that one.
We'll just operating on the five senses, what they call the five sensory human being. So we have to bring out teachings now that address now the deeper side of the self, the side that give character to the mortal side, that make you can refer to the mortal side as noble and divine and all these qualities, because those come from our connection back to the Creator. All is one in spirit. Our spiritual definition of self take us back to God. This is why we can affirm in these times that we are all gods. It is based on that spiritual definition of self, not the mortal definition of self. Because every mortal is unique and different. And the one is the same. The one is not different from person to person. You see, at a certain point in our definition, we are all the same, the very, very same, from that spiritual principle position. Only when we come into the garb of flesh now, that we become different and unique, different fingerprint, different color of eye, different facial structure, and all these other features, you understand? So, Ayman will be utilizing the platform to get into a lot of those teachings. And even things pertaining to mythology and these things and so on. Because it's very important to understand these things, that you can really step forth from the exoteric perspective that we carry into the esoteric view of things. You see? And with that, I man give thanks again
for the thanks, my Lord. Yeah, yes. I use them, they love a lot of mythology. They're good on that right now.
Yeah, it's very important to understand that, brethren, in my journey, Ayman really did have to go heads down and try to understand what mythology was all about. Particularly when Ayman hear it refer to scripture, certain things in mythology, and Ayman know how it affect I.
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, my Lord, give thanks again. And as I said, make sure you put down a notification.
No, Ayman answer you anything the man send out coming to Ayman queue in a Rasta.
I hear you.
Anything the man send out Rasta, he show up right in Ayman queue, Ayman subscribe long time.
Give thanks, my Lord. Blessed yes, love, eh? Yeah, man, give thanks.
Yes,
Rastafari, all right, definitely give thanks, for cheap subscriber there. All right, give thanks for running African. Yes, I was on that program about 6 months ago. I don't know if you heard it, Running African. That was just when the volcano exploded in St. Vincent. All right, give thanks to Brother Icern for that strength. Give thanks again for all those who have tuned in, those even in the chat. Give thanks for your presence with us. And just reminding you again, as I told the good brother, if you haven't done it, make sure that you've subscribed, and definitely that you definitely have your notification on, because we're going to bring in a wonderful lecture to you on the 24th day, Saturday, the 24th day of July, 2021, 7 p.m. sharp, right here on the YouTube for sure. And we are talking about the living gods of Kemet. You want to check it out. We're going to begin with Tutankhamun and Akhenaten. That is part 1. 3 parts, 3 Saturdays in a row. The third one, there's only going to be a short admission fee of $20. You know, we do our international online lecture, but it's 3 parts, but the first 2 parts definitely free right here on the YouTube. And as I said, the second part, we'll be dealing with Semenkari. You don't want to miss the second part, and well, you don't want to miss none of them. The third part, we'll be dealing with Ramesu the second, and we'll be showing you why these individuals are considered living gods. Very scientific, very deep. You don't know how it's done. Give thanks for such expression. So we're looking forward to your presence. And don't forget to subscribe to the Shock of the Hour International Radio program. Of course, you know, it comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. In fact, we got to go and do the Shock of the Hour now. And for those of you in Shock of the Hour world, you'll be getting that in your inbox tonight. You know how we do it. After the broadcast is over, we're going to be having a wonderful program tonight. Remember, you could get a whole week free trial of the Shock of the Hour. Nothing you have to pay for. Just email me precise27@gmail.com and we send you a whole week free. And for sure, that is something that you will full joy. And remember, of course, International Homeschool Program. We have some other graduates that will be coming through in the next couple of days. We'll be highlighting them. Yes, we give thanks for all those who, you know, have already earned their certificate in the International Homeschool classes. And of course, you know, we are putting that out to you. Remember, this is where we offer astronomy and African heritage. All you have to do again is contact us precise27@gmail.com. I'll send you a brochure, this e-brochure with all the information and a short video giving you more information. As you know, classes are sent out every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. And that's definitely, it appears in your inbox in video form. As I said, astronomy and African history, more than 160 classes over a 10-month period. So something that you will definitely full joy and something that will surely benefit the young ones. So we definitely give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. Give thanks to Brother Icern as well and the strength thereof. And remember, Brother Dougie's book, do I have it highlighted here? Priest Dougie's book. I think man. But anyway, you know, you can contact the Honorable Priest Roots Foundation, Roots with a Z, Roots Foundation @gmail.com. All right, so what's next? Well, of course, Chalice Talk on Friday for sure. We're going to have Honorable Prophet Daniel with us. We're going to have Honorable Prophet Ijah Star with us. And we're going to have Honorable Prophet Stefan with us. And that is going to be a wonderful program right here in the Tiger's Nest. Something that I'm really looking forward to even at that time. So we definitely give thanks, blessed love, Holy Manuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari.